Hello. So, you have noticed people play chords all the way down the neck of their guitar, and you're still up here wondering how they're doing that. Is there an easy way to unlock the rest of the guitar for yourself? And the answer is yes, there is. And it's called the E chord. So, this is what an E looks like. Or maybe you're playing it like this. Let's show you here. All right, so we got an E shape. And have you ever used a capo? You know how with a capo you can like bonk, put a bar across your fret and then play the E shape like here instead and change the whole key of your song? Well, I mean, basically you can take that E shape and drag it down anywhere on the neck of your guitar and just use your finger as a capo, so to speak. So the thing is, though, you have to get used to playing your E with your last three fingers of your hand because you need your index finger available. So to start, just practice playing E with those fingers. Oh, that's E minor, sorry. Both work. Okay, so... Okay, so then if I drag this down just one fret, boink, and lay down my index finger, pretend it's a capo or something, I suddenly have F. And then I have F sharp, and then I have G, G sharp, A sharp, B, B sharp. Wait, there's no such thing. Haha, that was a trick. C, C sharp. Okay, cool. So you get the idea. It helps if you ever played piano to remember like where the black keys are, to know, oh, like for example, there's no B sharp, it just turns into a C, that kind of thing. I can't help you with that part. But anyway, basically you get the idea. If you can drag that E shape down the neck of the guitar, then you have access to all the chords in different spots besides up here. So that's pretty easy, right? And people call those power chords, like, oh, I'm playing an A. And I'm all plugged in and distorted, so I only have to play the first two strings. Rock and roll, you know, that kind of thing. So, but it's actually less complicated than you think. So that's encouraging, I hope, right? So what if you're probably saying like, oh man, it is so hard for me to hold the strings down. Like I cannot get my index finger to cooperate. Well, that could be just, you know, building up that strength in your hand and just being not too hard on yourself. But it could also be your guitar, honestly. So I spent like 10 years on a very crappy guitar, believing that I just didn't have the hand strength to access these chords. And it turns out it was the guitar's fault, because then I got an electric guitar from a friend for like $50. And oh my God, electric guitars are so much easier to hold the strings down. And so then that unlocked so much learning for me, because I could actually access stuff. I could actually press stuff down. So if you're learning, and if just finger strength is the struggle, or not your fault, the guitar is just real bad, then borrow an electric guitar from someone, or a classical guitar has those nylon strings, so they're easier to press down. Don't let the guitar itself be the reason you can't learn stuff. I guess that's my point. Two, let's say you're like, oh, I have no money and I have no friends to borrow guitars from. Well, okay, I guess the thing you can do is just still make that E shape. You're not going to get the bar on there, but you at least got the shape on there. You can still pluck stuff. Ugh, oh my God. Right? So that still opens up a little more creative options to you on the guitar, so maybe you can do your songwriting around that. Okay, so why do we even care about using bar chords or whatever anyway? Well, for one, you can't get access to F without it. Like you just can't play any songs with F in it or B. Like you kind of need your index finger to make F and B available to your songs at all. So that's one reason. You'll notice that the F, I used that E shape. See, boink. With B, I used an A shape. So here's A down here. And it's the same idea. I can lay my finger across. So if I'm here, I'm playing B. How did I know that? Well, A sharp, B, right? A is here. A sharp, I just use my finger for as a capo, so to speak, and B. So now you see how you can drag E all the way down, you can drag A all the way down, you can drag any of the note shapes you learned up here all the way down. It's just the thing is you might run out of fingers with some of those. Like for example, C. Okay, well, I guess I could use my pinky here. Oh my God, my hand just doesn't do that. So I'm not gonna drag a C shape all the way down. But honestly, there's not really a reason to, because I can access all the chords I need with E shape, A shape, and then like, you know, variations on those. All right, so let's get into another reason why you might want to drag things down. Well, aside from unlocking F and B to yourself, also like the sound of a chord further up sounds a little different. So A up here sounds different than A over here, right? So you might do that for effect. If sometimes it's easier to go from one chord to the next when you're simply sliding down the neck. So if G, A, B, you can access like that. Whereas if I were trying to do G, A, B up here, I'd be like G, A, B, which is a little bit more complicated because I have to go from this weird shape, like, what is that, to this. And I was like, you know, it's easier to do it that way. You know, maybe. It kind of depends on you. If you're still like way more comfortable doing it up there, why not? What did you miss out on? Well, the A sounds a little bit different here than here. But did it really matter for your song? Maybe not. So it's up to you. I mean, this was a convenience thing, in addition to making the tones sound a little different. But like I said, it might not matter for your song. So don't feel bad if you choose to do it here as opposed to, you know, going up that way. Okay, so then the other, I guess maybe the final reason I'll provide for why it's good to like learn your E shape in particular and go down the neck with it is this is the E string, this top dude. So if you're making an E shape here, like this, an E chord, you're not holding anything down on this E string. This is just E, right? If I go here, this becomes F. If I go here, it's F sharp. This is an F sharp. So as you can see, the fret that your finger is holding that E string down on corresponds to the chord you're making. F sharp is the chord I'm making, and F sharp is where I'm holding down that E string. So that's really nice and convenient because you can start associating the position of your index finger with the chord you're playing. So here I'm playing G, and I know this is a G. Well, whenever you get to the point where you want to play around with scales, it's nice to know right away that, oh, if I play my scale here, then I started with G. So any scales I do starting here are going to be in it's going to be a G scale, if that makes sense. There's like more tricks to finding your place when it comes to scales. Like for example, like you can kind of find, oh, this is G and this is G, but I don't want to overwhelm you with those tricks because I think the most important thing to start is just learning to drag E down, doing that so much that you just start memorizing where G and A and all those other chords are when you're playing them this way. And then also you have these helpful dots that help you like remember your place. So, oh, G is on, my index finger is on one of those dots, so that's helpful. Just start there. And then later, after you get comfortable with that, then worry about scales. Okay, so final closing thought. If you only ever play up here, should you feel like bad or embarrassed or something like that? Because I know some folks are self-conscious about the fact that they only play up here and they never play down here. Well, I think if you play only up here, and you're not willing to make any kind of bar chord at all, that's kind of okay. Like, you're missing out on chords like F and B that you just don't have a choice about the bar. However, if you like to play in a key that involves F or B, you can just use a capo for that. You could just have a capo here, and now you're playing in those spots using the shapes that you're used to, just a little further up because you have a device holding the thing for you. So it's like, with the help of a capo, really, you're no different or worse off than maybe somebody that can lay down a bar. Kind of. That just changes the key for you. Okay, I'm gonna backpedal a little bit. If you're using a capo, you're like transposing everything. So you still don't have the same range. Like, for example, if you're down here and you can make all the shapes, but you can't make F or B, even if you're using a capo, there's still going to be 2 shapes off limits to you. So that means there's going to be 2 chords off limit to you. So maybe the key of your song will be different, but ultimately the chord dynamics that you have access to are limited because of your inability to do a bar chord. So I think it's not bad if you don't mind all your songwriting being in kind of the same, like the same sort of patterns. That's not a bad thing, because there's lots of great songs that just are like C and G and A and things that are very accessible down here. And super famous songs too. So I don't think that that's such a bad thing. I don't think you should feel bad about that at all. It's just, do you want to unlock a couple more chords? That's all. But that's not a big deal if you choose not to. Why would anyone judge that? That's dumb. And then secondly, the other reason you shouldn't feel too bad about it is folks that do play down here, they know that they're just playing E shapes but further up, or A shapes but further up. That doesn't exactly make you a virtuoso or a better guitarist. I mean, it's just one little thing you unlocked. So I don't think anyone playing bar chords up here, I mean, if they care that you're not playing bar chords up here, they're caring about a pretty minor, insignificant thing. It's like, oh, cool, you can play an A there, but that's not any more like skillful than playing an A down here, honestly. And in fact, sometimes it's less skillful because maybe you're playing the A here because you don't want to have to switch shapes when you're going between A and G. So it's like technically easier. So while we're on the topic of self-esteem, I have a couple other points to add. I expect my audience for this video to be people that, maybe have been playing guitar for a little bit. They're not advancing as fast as they'd like, and they're nervous about it. And okay, here's something to think about. Whenever you watch people that are so good at playing guitar and you're like, man, okay, they might legitimately be just really good at playing anything and they can adapt to any style, and that's awesome for them. There's a huge swath of people, though, that are really good at playing in the style that they've developed that is easy for them. So you're like, oh my God, that person is so amazing at hammering notes or finger plucking or like different techniques. But it could be that those techniques, they have practiced more, or they're very compatible with their fingers or whatever. And so they're writing songs around what they're good at. Same thing with art too. Like people develop these styles and you're like, wow, you're such a good artist. But you could take that same person and ask them to do something that's outside of their comfort zone and suddenly they're not as good of an artist. So my point there is just be aware that people are bringing you their best. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at everything. It could mean that they're really good at the specialty that they've developed for themselves, and you could be the same way. If you develop some guitar playing techniques that you personally really love, and then you songwrite around those, and that's just what style is. That's developing your style. The second thing is too, you'll watch people in bands, and honestly, like having a band kind of distributes the work of producing a good sound amongst a bunch of people. So if you're hiding in your house and you're nervous to play publicly and all this, like you have self-consciousness around playing, and you see these people in bands and you're like, man, they're not self-conscious at all. It's possible that you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to develop every sound. And if you had a buddy and y'all were splitting the work, neither of you would have to work quite as hard or be quite as skillful to produce an amazing overall sound. And so just think about that, like it could be next time you watch a band, notice sometimes you'll have someone that's like, oh yeah, shredding, usually just for their solo though. A lot of times you'll watch people and the guitarist is just playing a couple strings. Think of punk music. Like there's a whole genre of music that is so popular and people like worship these songwriters and bands, but they have intentionally stripped down their playing style to just like playing one string at a time with a lot of distortion or something like that. So I guess my recommendation there is maybe be more expansive and don't put all the pressure on yourself. Think of yourself as one member of a larger group, and you don't have to set the bar so high for yourself to consider yourself a worthy guitarist, because if you're playing with other people, y'all can share the weight and everyone can bring their personal skill sets to the forefront, and collectively you do an amazing job. So those are a couple other things to help you feel hopefully a little bit more assured in your guitar playing. The point is you should be having fun playing your guitar and making up songs and playing along with songs and all that stuff. And these little tricks just unlock more features of the game called guitar playing. And it's just supposed to be fun. So have fun.